welcome back to Joy Recaps. Today I will review a Russian science fiction film from 2020 called Invasion. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The aliens have been on Earth unnoticed for 3 years. The world is fortifying its defenses, with the United States, Russia, and China leading the way. A new satellite is being launched into orbit around Earth to monitor deep space, ensuring that no alien object can approach the planet again unnoticed. As the satellite opens, a strange alien ship with tentacle-like parts can be seen. Suddenly, a shuttle is launched from it, heading for Earth and entering the atmosphere. Meanwhile, a fishing boat can be seen somewhere in the ocean, with fishermen working and chatting. One of them notices the alien shuttle drop as he looks out over the water. He doesn't tell the others what he saw. The shuttle can then be seen moving underwater like a submarine. Yulia is seen jogging with her dog 4 months later. The dog escapes as they approach an apartment complex and does not return her calls. She asks the men who are with her to assist her in finding him. Later, in robotics class, her friend inquires about some new information from the lab. She warns him that if she divulges any information, her guards will have to shoot him right away. After class, Yulia's friend attempts to express his feelings for her, but she politely declines, stating that he will be safer if they remain friends. Her bodyguards accompany them to her father's car. Her father, General Lebedev, addresses Yulia's friend as Google. The kid boasts about his job at Rostelekom, and they drop him off there. He enters the building, and when security requests his ID, it reveals that he is only an intern. Meanwhile, Yulia and her father continue to drive, and he jokes with her about breaking her out and smuggling her to another country where she can hide. She does not want him suspended. They arrive at a Russian Ministry of Defense research laboratory, where a robot is seen tearing through the doors and smashing a car. Yulia's father inquires of a scientist at the lab. The scientist explains that it is a type of biotechnology. A human is controlling the robot and communicating with them via comm. The general remarks that it is a Russian extraterrestrial collaboration. The scientist goes on to explain that Yulia is the key to understanding how everything works. Meanwhile, Yulia is taking part in an experiment somewhere in the facility. The primary scientist questions her about her encounter with the extraterrestrial spacecraft and observes her reactions as well as her answers. Her heart rate increases when he asks about her friend who died in the encounter, and again when he asks why she helped the alien. When they ask her about her boyfriend Artyom, she becomes upset and refuses to answer. The boyfriend is abruptly brought into the lab. When he starts talking to her, she becomes enraged and tells the scientist to stop the experiment and get her out. As she tries to break free from her restraints, he apologizes for killing her. As he continues to speak, the scientist encourages him, and a massive surge of power occurs. Her father rushes into the lab and pulls her from the pool, while Artyom is being escorted and wonders why he's being held when she is free. Later, Yulia and her father talk, and she begs him to let her be alone for a moment, away from her guards and everyone else. He agrees and departs, then meets with a soldier, Ivan, and informs him that he will have to work the night shift and change into regular clothes. Yulia is drinking at a bar that night. She notices Ivan and buys him a drink to let him know she's paying attention, so he joins her at the bar. She offers him a drink before they leave, but a second man appears and tells them they must leave. The man introduces himself as Hakan and tells Yulia she must accompany him. Despite her objections, Ivan and Hakan begin fighting, but Yulia knocks the soldier out with a blow to the head. Her and Hakan leave the bar and dial the number for the alien spaceship, Sol. It follows them and finds them a ride, directing them to a car with 2 passengers. It takes control of the digitalized car and begins driving it. Ivan catches up to them after Sol talks to them over the comm. The car manages to push Ivan away and drives away, taking care not to hit anyone else on the road. Ivan follows them on a motorcycle and calls General Lebedev to inform him of the situation. The general orders him to follow them, but he begins evacuating the Ministry of Defense's laboratory, claiming that the aliens have returned to Earth. Back in the car, Hakan informs Yulia that she is in danger because they went too far with the experiments, and that they must flee immediately. The car is speeding and almost hits a pedestrian, but it comes to a complete stop in front of him, signaling the other passengers to exit. Ivan pursues Hakan and Yulia and shoots one of the car's wheels as they continue riding in the car. He causes a car accident, but Sol follows him from above and saves him. Ivan calls the general to inform him that he has lost them. Sol takes Hakan and Yulia to a remote location in the woods. She walks in reluctantly, but is greeted by her dog, who is also present. Yulia informs Hakan that she believed he had died. He appears to be the alien she assisted in the previous encounter. He claims that everything went wrong the last time. They enter the house and talk about how long he's been on Earth. He explains that he has adjusted to life on the planet. Someone knocks on Yulia's door, and when she opens it, it's Google. She's angry, despite what he tried to tell her previously. Hakan informs her that he was supposed to leave after the first encounter, but he defied protocol by remaining on Sol, close to Earth. They kiss and make love while Sol changes forms. It transforms into Ra. Yulia calls her father the next morning to inform him that she is with Hakan. She tells him she has to leave because she no longer belongs on Earth and asks him not to tell anyone. Nonetheless, the general directs his men to monitor her signal. Yulia returns to the house, where Hakan has breakfast ready for her. Meanwhile, a tactical unit has surrounded the house and is preparing to storm it with Hakan and Yulia inside. General Lebedev orders them to stand down, but Ra intercepts the call and orders them to shoot to kill. When the unit enters the house, Hakan fights off a few of the soldiers before the two of them flee. His ship has been activated and is waiting for them on the riverbank. Hakan jumps in, but the unit follows and shoots Yulia as she enters the ship. Hakan takes off. An order is received to launch a missile at them, but Hakan intercepts the missile in mid-flight. The ship, however, is still damaged and falls through the sky into the river. Hakan tries to contact Saul, but Ra informs him that Yulia must be eliminated before the ship can be repaired. He declines, and Ra informs him that he, too, must be eliminated. The general and Ivan try to catch up to them, but they receive various types of miscommunication that Ra has intercepted. They discover that space defense is pursuing the ship, leaving the general perplexed as to who gave that order. Helicopters can be seen charging toward the river, switching to combat mode, and firing at the ship. Back at the facility, Artyom fools his guard and gains access to the robot, steals it, and flees in it. He arrives at a river bridge and learns that there is a unit pursuing the ship, ready to shoot them down. The ship gliding through the water is shot down by two helicopters. It flies out of the water and falls through the air, trailed by water. It eventually crashes to the ground. When Artyom in the robot suit jumps at one of the helicopters and rips it to shreds, the helicopters are in position, waiting for Ra's kill order. The general arrives at the ship and goes to look for Yulia, but she and Hakan have already escaped. He carries her to an ambulance when they come across Artyom, who notices her pain and tells them he'll get a doctor for her. However, Hakan informs him that all she requires is water. Artyom flags down a car, and they steal it, this time leaving the owner behind. Hakan explains how powerful Saul is and how it can control human technology while they're driving. When Artyom asks what it wants, he is told that it only wants to eliminate Yulia. Meanwhile, Yulia's father travels to the Ministry of Defense, where a special meeting has been called. He storms the meeting, demanding to know why such orders were issued while they were chasing the ship. The vice premier tells him he's out of line and orders him to sit down. Then he requests an explanation from the space defense. They claim that the orders came from the general. A recording of the general's voice is played, and the order is given. The vice premier orders that the news be shown in the meeting, which shows the devastation caused by the chase in Moscow. The media blames Yulia for what happened and shows a deepfake video of her, portraying her as a terrorist on the side of the aliens, threatening the city. They reveal that not only the video, but the entire news program is a hoax, broadcasting from somewhere other than a TV station. The general informs them that the aliens are responsible. He requests retaliation, but the vice premier says he needs evidence to confirm such action. In the meantime, General Lebedev requests that special protocols be put in place, stating that only analog technology should be used for all communication. The vice premier agrees, and preparations for the transition begin. At the same time, Hakan, Yulia, and Artyom go to the store to get her some water. Hakan goes inside to purchase it. When he finds the right kind of water and goes to the register, everyone's phones start ringing. Everyone in the store is discussing Yulia and a possible terrorist attack. Everyone starts getting the same message about her. They need to find and eliminate her. As Hakan returns to the car, a woman in the next car recognizes Yulia and reports her to a nearby police patrol. As the police pursue them, Artyom drives away. While escorting the ship back to the Ministry of Defense, Ivan receives the same message. The fake message informs him that Yulia's attack has injured his son. Ra floods all digital media with the same information about Yulia, making her the public enemy #1. A police officer arrives at Google and inquires about Yulia. When they close the door, his grandmother sends the officer away and asks where he hid his friends. They were hiding in the closet. Artyom and Hakan immediately submerge Yulia in water. Hakan informs him that she is no longer a human being. He claims that pain is altering her and making her extremely, if not dangerously, powerful. Ra has calculated that her death will liberate everyone else from her power, which is why it wishes to destroy her. Later, Google and Artyom intentionally get Hakan drunk and decide to take him to the Ministry of Defense. Artyom forces Google to make a decision. When they arrive, Yulia's father awaits them, ready to kill them. Google finally breaks down and tells him where his daughter is. He confronts Hakan and asks him to reveal Ra's coordinates, which are only known to him, and tells him that he must choose between her and his people. Ivan tries unsuccessfully to contact his wife. As the general walks in, he sees the news about Yulia and orders his men to build an observatory and a satellite using the coordinates he obtained from Hakan. The general orders Ivan to find Yulia and bring her directly to him, without informing anyone else. When the observatory finds Ra, the general contacts the vice premier to discuss the next steps. They decide to engage it violently, but first they must destroy a satellite so that it does not catch up to them and cause additional problems. The military dispatches Google to Rostelecom to destroy their satellite. They will only have a few seconds after the satellite goes down before it reboots. They will destroy Ra with a super-secret weapon that the vice premier claims they don't have, despite the fact that they do. The general persuades him that they have no other option. Meanwhile, Yulia awakens in the bathtub. Her wounds have healed. She is about to leave Google's grandmother's apartment when Ivan knocks on the door. He's driving her somewhere, but she has no idea that he believes she's to blame for the attacks. He confronts her with the information, threatening that if his son dies, she will perish as well. The general orders the launch of the special missile as well as the destruction of the satellite. They wait for the missile to destroy Ra and celebrate when it does so. However, the general is not convinced. He wants a full report and visual confirmation that the alien spaceship has been destroyed. Meanwhile, protesters take to the streets to demand Yulia's arrest. Ivan is maneuvering her through the crowd. He still doesn't believe her, but he eventually takes her to the ministry and introduces her to her father and the others. Ivan is dissatisfied with the general and resigns on the spot. Hakan communicates with Ra via phone. It informs him that it is prepared for retribution because it does not believe humans are deserving of anything. Ra offers Hakan the ability to fly back, but he declines, still believing in humanity. The powerful spaceship begins a destructive process on the planet, which can be seen from everywhere, including the Ministry of Defense's tower. Ra is enraged that humans are attempting to use its technology to create weapons like Yulia. It forms a massive water dome around her location in Moscow and begins flooding the inside of the walls. The military attempts everything, but they are unable to destroy the dome. They begin evacuating people, only to inform them that their only hope is to climb as high as possible and remain on the roofs of the buildings. The general orders Hakan to take Yulia to the chopper on the roof, so he transports her and Artyom to the helicopter, but remains in the dome. Hakan returns to the general and requests his shuttle, telling him that if he can hit Ra with the shuttle, he can destroy it. Realizing it's a one-way ticket, the general wishes to go instead. But this is impossible because only Hakan can operate it manually. The general evacuates his men but stays behind to assist Hakan in navigating toward Ra. The helicopter carrying Yulia and Artyom loses altitude and must land, but it begins to fall, and the two of them jump into the water. They are being dragged along with the other people in the disaster area onto one of the roofs. The water keeps rising, and Yulia can't bear the thought of everyone getting hurt because of her, so she surrenders. She begs Artyom to kill her, and the others hear her. Meanwhile, the general manages to get Hakan as close to Ra as he possibly can before the water floods the building. Back on the roof, Yulia begs to die, wanting to put an end to all the pain she's caused. Ivan is there, and he sees her and chases her down with a gun. Artyom attempts to protect her but is shot instead. The water begins to close in on them, but Ivan has given up. The water engulfs them. Hakan is drawing closer to Ra, eventually speeding the ship towards it. Under the water, Yulia's bracelet activates, sending streams of water toward Ra as Hakan approaches it. When Yulia pulls Ra out of the water, military helicopters begin shooting at it. Yulia continues to push the ship out, and the military fires a missile at it, destroying it. Suddenly, the water begins to recede, and people begin to emerge for air. The general is also still alive. As Ra dies, Hakan's ship is pushed back into the remaining water. He appears on the roof alongside Yulia. The alien threat has been eliminated, and the day has been saved once more. In the end, the general attends a phony funeral for his daughter. A helicopter later flies over Kamchatka. Someone gets off the plane and walks away with the dog. The general is tracking a specific location, and when he arrives, he discovers Yulia and Hakan. They embrace and contemplate their next steps. When Yulia touches the water, a spaceship appears from beneath.